Welcome back to a new episode of DevDrawer. Today we're going to be going over, a continuation of what we did last week, where we integrated a simplified API and AJAX and stuff like this in order to populate a dynamic link navigation into a SammyJS application. So today we're going to be expanding on that and being able to change out the content of the pages dynamically, also based on AJAX and a simplified API. So let's get started. So we still have these two pages that are working just the way we want them to. There's no errors. It's being populated from the database directly. So what we want to do now is to not have to write every single one of these. If we want to add a new page, the only thing we should have to do is come in here and create the template for it. So right now we would have to create the database item to display the information, create the reference in the route here, create the page, so forth and so on, add it to the navigation. So what we want to do is make it as simple as possible. So if you add something to the database, it populates everywhere. The only thing you need to do is provide that template. You can't do it this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this since we're not actually using that like I thought we would. So we want to keep our route here for the home page because it's passing back a blank variable for the slug that's related to this the URL for the home page. So what we want to do is make it where whenever they type in something after this slash, it pulls what it needs to and grabs the template that it needs. Everything else should be populated with this. So we're going to come in here and we're going to do, instead of doing this about, we're going to create something very similar to it. So let me go ahead and copy this over, and we're going to use a Sammy variable, and we're going to do :slug. That's going to tell it that no matter what's beyond this line, we want to be able to pull it. So inside of your database, if it's inside of like about slash person's name, it needs to be about slash person's name in the database, and then it'll pull that and reference it here. Okay, so we have everything that we want here. What this is going to turn into is we're actually grabbing this parameter from the URL. So we're going to pass that parameter as the template name. So this dot params slug, and that's just because it's slug here, and then it's going to pass that template and basically grab what we want it to. So we should simply be able to remove this and have it work. Get rid of my breakpoint that was there for some reason. So now if we click on, let me remove this, make it a little cleaner looking. So home, about us, still no errors. So now if we go to our template, am I doing something wrong? Is it supposed to say the about us? We'll figure it out in just a second. Let me get rid of this. So the navigation still works like it should. So we need to go in there and add that dynamic content that we put into the database into the content for another AJAX pull. So inside of our pages.php, we're going to create another section here that is going to, let's do else if, and then post type, and let's just call the variable single. And we're going to run a function called single page, and then we're going to pass the post slug to that function. So let's come over here and we can kind of copy this because it's still just pulling something, it's not really editing anything. So let's call this single page. We're going to pass slug to it, and then over here we don't need the order by anymore, but we do need to pass a variable. So we're going to do select from pages where slug equals question mark, and then right below this we're going to do statement I think it's bind parameter, no, bind param. And then we're going to pass a string because it is a string that's being passed for the slug. And then we're going to execute it, get the result. Pages equals null, that's fine. So we don't need the slug anymore because we already know where we're at. So let's get rid of this and get rid of it up here, and we can pass the content on the next one. So let's copy this, and we're going to change this to content and content. And then we're going to close it out, and then we're going to encode page, so it's not an array anymore. It's not an array that's being added to anymore. So let's take this page, page, page. Okay, so that should give us this single page slug. So inside of our initialize.js, so we're going to go outside of our app.js and we're going to go into initialize, and we're going to create a function here, because the thing with this is that SammyJS is dynamically populating that content. Whenever it's dynamically populating the content, some of the variables, some of the HTML is not visible to you because of the way it's being populated. So we have to call this initialize.js on every file that we're using. And since we're doing that, instead of having to call everything and try to make it work inside the app.js, we're going to make it work here, and then we're just going to call it directly from the page. So let's create a function. We're going to call it getPage. We're going to pass the slug to it, and the slug is going to be something that we have to hard code per page, but you will see why we do that in just a second. Alright, then we're going to, let's copy what we did here, because a lot of it's the same. So let's copy what we did for the list pages and just put that inside of the AJAX that I just wrote. Okay, there we go. So again, we're hitting pages. This time it's going to be single, and then we're also going to pass a variable called slug, and it's just going to be the slug that's being called. And then we don't need to do the each because we're only getting a single page now, but what we do want to do is create some functions that are going to be populated with this content. Actually, let's do console.log to make sure it's getting the data that we want. So this doesn't have to change. Inside of our about.html, we are actually going to, let's create a reference to this script. So let's do script source equals js/initialize.js, and just close that out. And then below that, we're going to do another script, and this is where we're going to reference that function that we created. So we're going to do get page, and then we're going to pass, PHP is trying to kick in, get page, and then we're going to pass this slug. So we called this one about, and that's going to allow it to pass into this with the about, which is going to then pass into this and then return that information. So now if we go back over here to about us, console should be producing something. It's not. Okay, let's just add this to the home page as well. It's not going to do anything right now, but I just want to make sure that I have it in there, and then we change this to nothing because the home page is blank. And let me make sure that I called it get page slug, get page about. Okay, so now let's come in here and see why it's not doing anything. So console, let's make sure it's hitting this file. Do a console log here, and it's not showing anything in the console log, so that means it is not hitting this page at all. So JS shouldn't have to do a slash behind that. Alright, let's see what I'm doing here. So I guess since we're having issues with this would be a good time to show you what you can do if you run into an issue like this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to change this to a get, and then we're just going to pass in the variable about. So that means that on this side of it, where to go here? On this side of it, we can do type equals single, and you can see that it's not finding something. Undefined index type, get type. Hold on, let me take away this part so it's not trying to push it out as AJAX or JSON right now. So it is getting the information, but it's saying on line 12 it can't get. Okay, well that's fine because we're not trying to actually hit that one anyway. But so we know the content is working the way it should be. Then if we turn that back on, we should still get those JSON values, which we do. But let's see. So we got get pages. Oh, okay, I see what's happening. We did not actually call it. What we want to do is whenever it successfully hits and populates that navigation, we want to push the, call this function. And then it'll populate the pages with what they need to be populated with. So there is an error in there, but at least we're seeing that it's hitting something. So let's go back to about. I think I can get rid of this now. There we go. It's populating the content that we want now. So the issue was that we created the function, but we actually didn't call it because it was being called up here, but we didn't want it to be called there. We want it to be called only on a successful listing of the pages. So it calls the function now, and then it passes that slug. So now if we go back to the home page, everything is coming back the way that we want it to, sort of. Home, nothing's being passed, but that's fine. Okay, so we'll figure that out in just a second. But what I want to do right now is populate the page with this content. So let's go back to our template for the About Us page, and we're going to add in some scripting for it. So let's come up here and let's create a class called page, just so we know the script knows that we're on a page and we only want this information to be populated here. We're going to pass over an h1 for the title, and then we're going to do div class content for the internal content that gets passed. So that's all we need to do on that. And then inside of our initialize.js again, we are going to pass that variable that are coming from the data instead of displaying it. So let's do our jQuery, and then it's going to be dot page h1, and then text, and that's going to be the data dash or dot title, which you could have seen here where it had the information. It gives you what's needed to be populated there. And then here we're going to do page content, and then we're going to pass data content to that page. So let's go back to the About Us, and as you can see, it is passing what it needs to, but it is passing the paragraph tags in it. So let me go back over here, make sure it's encoding. Yes, that's encoding. So it should not be passing the variables, or it should not be passing the HTML, I don't think. Let's go over here and make sure. Okay, I closed it out correctly there. Alright, let's worry about that in a second. Let's get it to work over here, so we can differentiate the home page from the About page. Okay, so now let's go back to the home. So it's displaying one value for both. So that means that there is a call inside of our app.js that is not working the way that it should be working. Okay, so I'm still looking at the issues here. You click on either one of these, it returns the About Us. So let's check this out again. Okay, well there it is. It is it's passing the one variable, so we actually need to do a post and then slug. There we go. So about home. Alright, so it is working the way as expected, sort of. So we have the HTML is still visible, which I don't like. So let's come into our initialize.js, and Okay, so I think because we're passing the HTML, obviously we can't display text, so let's change this to HTML. And now it's displaying correctly. So that's what I want to do. So now is the big test. The big test that I want to do is to add this links the navigation links dynamically, but also be able to populate this page with only being able to create a template. So let's take this about template. We're going to copy it and let's paste it. Let's rename this to contact template, and then we're going to pass the variable contact. Okay, so now inside of our database, let's create a new page. So let's copy this one. We're going to change, or let's make it 3 contact and contact us, and this is the contact us page. Go. So now if we come over here, we should see a new page, contact us. Click on it, contact us. So the routes are working the way that they should be. The pages are being populated based on us being able to add something to the database and then essentially just create this template. So that is exactly where I wanted to be at with this tutorial today. So let me go through real quick and see if there's anything else that I can add. I think that pretty much covers everything that we have. Let's just verify it again and create another page. So I want to save this one, save as, let's do services template, and then we're going to change this to services, and inside of our database we are going to copy this, change this to a for services and let's also add in ul li service 1 service 2 and make them standardized, and then finally close out that ul, hit go, and refresh services. Alright, so that is the proving point that it works the way we want it to. So essentially this project now it's tied into a database that uses AJAX and JSON to grab the information and populate it. It's using a PHP simplified API that can reside on a different server, that can reside on the same server, however you want to do it. And then it's also using a MySQL database in order to tie everything in together. So I think that is the... Oh wait, there's one more thing I want to do. So I don't know if you noticed this in the other tutorial that we did, but if we make this go down to, let me inspect it, and I'm going to change this to a mobile view so you can see this. So when you open up the menu and you click on a new page, the menu stays there. And the reason why it does this is because this page is the page is not changing, the content is. You only have one page, that's the index.html page where this menu resides. So it doesn't actually know that whenever you click on this it's changing that content, because the URL itself, it's not changing, it's just appending something to it. So what I want to do in the code in order to fix this, it's a very simple fix that you can do. Essentially what you want to do is, where's our app.js? Whenever you get to this part, you just want to add something that says navbar collapse remove class show. And I'll show you that real quick. So let's do navbar dash collapse, and then we're going to do remove class and then show. So that'll do it on the home page, and then this one would do it on all the other pages. So if we go back over here and we click on About Us, now the menu bar does not stay where it's at. It's actually acting like it's going to a different page, but it's technically not. Okay, so something else that we can do just real quick to, I guess, prep us for the next tutorial that we're going to do is I want to, inside the styles here, I'm going to add just some styling to the header and the nav so you can differentiate the pages that you're on. So let's first do header, and then we're going to do background dash color, and let's just make it a dark background. And then the next one we're going to do nav button, and then the nav a link, and then we're going to do color, and we're going to make it white, and we're also going to make it important. And then lastly we want to do we want to add a class. So nav dash item a current, and then we're going to change that color from the white link to an off-white. So let's do something like 929292, and then we're going to make that important since we made it important above it. So there's a pretty cool thing with SammyJS where you can control how the whenever this runs, if you look at the page now and you click on, wait, why did it not update this? Oh, that's because I don't have it wrapped in a header. Hold on. Here, and then we're going to wrap it in a header. Come on. Okay. There. Okay, so now we can see that everything is the color that we want it to be, except whenever you click on the page that you're on, it doesn't change that. But with SammyJS, there is something pretty cool that you can do. So we're going to open up our app.js, and then right after this last call for the slug part, we're going to do this.before, and it's going to be for all links, and we're going to run this function here. So we're going to do var hash equals document dot location dot hash, and that's because the hash is being passed. All of our links have the hash in it, so this will work out for us. So we're going to reference the navbar li list items, and we're going to add or remove a current class to it. So first thing we want to do is remove all of the links. So let's do nav li, not remove all the links, but remove any current on the entire thing. So we're going to search through the list items for an A reference, and then we're going to do remove class current. So that'll remove all the classes. Then I'm going to paste this because we're essentially doing the same thing, except now we want to look to see if the href equals the hash. So we're going to do this, and that. Oh my gosh. And let's do hash there. Alright, so I'm going to close it out here. Okay. And then we're going to add class instead of remove class. So add class current. So now if we go back to the page and we look, contact us is now what's being highlighted, about us is now what's being highlighted. So you can see which page that you were previously on or that you're currently on. Alright, so I think that that's going to do it for this episode. Stay tuned. I think next time I'm going to try to add a few more different kinds of functionality into the API, maybe making it where you can dynamically change text. I don't know, I have to figure it out. But for right now, this is kind of getting started with creating like a single page application that you could eventually just migrate into Android or iOS. And I'll show you how to do that in a future tutorial as well. But if you like this video, smash the like button, because I'm seeing that a lot of people are watching it, but they're not necessarily subscribers and they're not necessarily liking the video, but we got a lot of people watching the videos, and I'm super excited that I have a lot of people looking at it. But if you like the video, let me know that you like it. Subscribe to the channel. I got videos like this that come out once a week. I changed my posting schedule from Friday to Monday so that you guys can have something, and it also gives me a little bit of time over the weekend to work on it instead of having to rush through it during the weekdays. So again, thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you next time.